This woman is the director of Task Force X, otherwise known as the Suicide Squad. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It's your boy King Shazam right here, and I'm here for another origin story. And here we're going to be focusing on Amanda Waller. So Amanda has established as a widow who escaped Chicago's Cabrini Green housing projects with her surviving family after one of her sons, one of her daughters, and her husband were murdered. Waller eventually obtained a doctorate in political science and became a congressional aide. During that time, she discovered the existence of the first two incarnations of the Squad. Taking elements from both of these, she proposed the development of its third incarnation to the White House and was placed in charge upon its approval. The agency was formed by Amanda Waller to serve as a small, quasi-independent branch of Task Force X. Valentina Vostok brought former NYPD Lieutenant Harry Stein into the agency as an operative. Amanda Waller later promoted Stein to the command position and demoted Vostok. Harry Stein would later reorganize the agency and name it Checkmate. Waller's tenure as the official in charge of the third Suicide Squad was tumultuous and controversial. Despite many successes, she developed a habit of defying her superiors in Washington in order to achieve goals both legitimate and personal on more than one occasion. The earliest conflict between her and her superiors revolved around the leadership of the Suicide Squad. Although she proposed that the Bronze Tiger, the man who she had helped out of his brainwashing, led the team, he was instead relegated to second in command, and Rick Flag Jr. was made the leader. Waller resentfully presumed the situation to be racially charged, related to not only her own status as a black woman, but also Bronze Tiger's own skin tone. Although the Tiger himself did not believe this was a factor, instead believing this was a result of mistrust due to the brainwashing imposed upon him by the League of Assassins. Her relationship with the Squad itself was one of mutual dislike. Most of the team's criminal members did not really take the Waller's methods, most notably Captain Boomerang, and even the team's heroes were often at odds with Waller. Waller's inability to deal and compromise with her troops led to Nemesis's departure from the team and the death of a U.S. Senator, which indirectly caused the death of Rick Flag Jr. Those type of conflicts, however, were not only limited to her superiors and her team, but also extended to Batman, who opposed the forming of the Suicide Squad. Nonetheless, the team remained loyal to her, often choosing to side with her instead of the government. It was ultimately revealed that the reason that Amanda Waller even kept the heroes such as Nightshade around was in order for them to act as her conscience. Over the course of her first run with the Suicide Squad, her actions became increasingly erratic as she fought to retain control of the squad. This was heightened by the public revelation of the Suicide Squad and her being officially replaced, although her replacement was in fact an actor and Waller remained the team's director. Even the secret would eventually be revealed and Amanda Waller would be put on trial. During this time, the Squad also became involved in an interagency conflict in a crossover between the Checkmate and Suicide Squad titles called the Janus Directive. One of the field missions is against her will, as many members of the Squad, Waller included, are forcibly kidnapped and taken to Apocalypse. This is because team member Duchess remembered her past as Lashina of the Female Furies. Instead of being amnesiac as she pretended and wished to return home with suitable sacrifices, the Squad suffers fatalities battling Apocalypse's forces, with Waller personally confronting Granny Goodness. However, the confrontation ended with the deaths of Dr. Light and one of the Waller's own nieces, and Count Vertigo, near fatally wounded. She eventually found herself serving prison time for her pursuit of an organized crime cartel based in New Orleans called the LOA and killing its leadership, using squad operatives Raven, Poison Ivy, and Deadshot in the process. Waller is eventually pardoned and released a year later to reorganize the Suicide Squad as a freelance mercenary group at the behest of Sarge Steele to deal with the crisis in La Tava, Count Vertigo's home country. Waller allowed herself to enter prison because she knew two things perfectly well. One, by confronting the LOA with squad operatives, she had crossed the line, and two, she would return to her position quite easily if she was ever needed again. Afterwards, the Suicide Squad performs a variety of missions, often treading dangerous political terrain when dealing with Soviet and Israeli interests. Most notably, the squad helped destroy the plans of the cabal to throw Iraq, Israel, and the U.S. into political disarray. During the course of her renewed tenure with this team, Amanda became closer to her operatives, even accompanying them on their field missions. This allows for her and her team to bond more effectively, although she retains her dominant and threatening personality. Waller quits after a later field mission in which she personally takes down the seemingly immortal dictator of a small South American island nation. As it turned out, he wasn't immortal, but had an immense amount of psychic power, and by tricking him, Waller merely provided a form of assisted suicide. Soon after, Amanda Waller organizes the Shadow Fighters to confront the villain Eclipso. Again, she would confront Sarge Steele. Her first attempt at a team formed with the assistance of Bruce Gordon and his wife Mana did not go well. Most of the team are brutally murdered, infiltrating Eclipso's stronghold. Her second attempt with a much larger team has much more success. During the Bloodlines debacle, the president sends Guy Gardner to fetch Waller from her island retirement. She leads a multi-hero affair that results in the destruction of the alien parasites. She rejoins federal service initially as Southeastern Regional Director for the Department of Extranormal Operations. She is promoted to Secretary of Meta-Human Affairs as a member of the Lex Luthor Presidential Administration. And obviously, Amanda Waller will make an appearance in DC's and Warner Brothers' Suicide Squad coming out August 5th of 2016. And the woman playing Amanda Waller is Viola Davis. So, of course, are you a fan of Amanda Waller? Make sure to subscribe and leave a like for more origins. And, of course, as always, I'd like to see you all next time.